Hey, what's going on, guys? Aarava here, and welcome back to my F1 2017 Career Mode, episode number 51 today for the Hungarian Grand Prix in Season 3. Unfortunately, no R&D upgrades or any developments on that side of things to talk about at the very start of this episode, unfortunately, apart from the simple fact the game forced and pushed me towards the Hungarian practice straight after the British Grand Prix, so it meant I was unable to look at any upgrades for the tree, which isn't a huge issue apart from the simple fact that obviously the chassis weight reduction that was meant to come at the British Grand Prix failed, and so I could have potentially bought the repair, which would have only cost 450 points, and it would have been done for this episode, but unfortunately that's not the case. That's still to be done, and I've got 1,600 points, so in that case, in hindsight, I'm just going to wait till the end of this episode then, before we spend any of those resource points, because then we can look at repairing that part, and then potentially buying a new upgrade for a later date. Obviously that repair will come in next episode now, episode number 52 then, for the Belgian Grand Prix, which will still come in handy, obviously, for Spa, having that weight reduction there for the chassis, but it could have been used to good effect here at Hungary, but we'll just have to carry on. Nothing much we can do if the game kind of forces us to go to practice. So we're going to move into the practice as per usual then. Overcast skies for practice, having a bit of an issue right at the end of one of our practice laps as we do the track acclimatization, going across the DRS line and spinning across. Just about managed to keep out of the wall there, and we're able to actually finish off that lap and get the maximum points we could in the practice programs available. Of course, you know, we're staying at Renault now for the rest of the season at least, and, you know, from the last episode I mentioned, with the bad luck that Raikkonen, Bottas, Vettel and Hamilton have got so far this season, with just us over halfway through the season gone, we are still, I want to say, cautiously in the mix for the Drivers' Championship. If we remain optimistic about it all, we're in the fight still, technically. Obviously, you might want to count us out due to our car, but also we've done some great strategies so far this season that have seen us get some great positions, a la, obviously, the last episode where we won our home Grand Prix, the British Grand Prix. So we'll see how it goes. But we go into qualifying then. In Q1, you saw it all looks kind of okay. You can see into the middle sector, the car doesn't look amazingly alive at the moment. I mean, they're not going, you know, too wayward or anything like that, but the car doesn't look exactly on it like a car bonnet, as I would like to say. Maybe as we cross the line then, it's not a great lap time, only P17, and I was scratching my head on what on earth was going on. Why wasn't the lap time there? Because the lap wasn't a scruffy lap by any means, so it was kind of questioning that, and then it swiftly became apparent what I had done. I've made an absolute disaster mistake here. I forgot to switch out the engine components, simple as that. I made a rookie error, pretty much like I did back in Season 1. I haven't made an error like this since Season 1, I don't think. I think the fact that the game quickly rushed me to practice for the Hungarian Grand Prix after the British Grand Prix kind of put my mind, it didn't click that I had to do that, as it kind of is a ritual to change the engine components before qualifying, and yeah, we're just screwed a little bit. We qualified I think down the order P17, I think it ended up, or even worse, and so in light of that, I'm going to take engine penalties, and at some point I thought we were going to have to do this, so it may as well be now when I've made a mistake like this, so we may as well do it now. So we've taken the fifth column, we're going to put back in all the third column ones, and save that fifth column for a rainy day, obviously, towards the end of the season, when maybe the AI get a few penalties, and so we're going to take the hit at Hungary. I didn't think we were going to be taking it at Hungary. I was kind of planning maybe to take it at the next episode, Spa actually, or maybe the Italian Grand Prix, but no, we're going to take it here at Hungary, which may be quite tricky, because obviously they call it Monaco without the barriers, and so it is going to be hard to overtake, but we'll see what we can do as ever. We did obviously do this in Season 1 in the Toro Rosso, so I have some experience there, so, you know, not all is lost, And I literally just said, let's remain positive about the championship fight. Indeed, let's, on that same note, remain positive about this race and what we can do today. So let's go to the grid and then go to the full race and see how far up the order we can get.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Raikkonen, Bottas, Max Verstappen and Ricciardo, Massa, Perez, Grosjean and Daniel Kvyat, Hülkenberg, Ocon, Carlos Sainz and Stroll, Alonso, Van Dorn, Pascal Wehrlein and Kevin Magnussen. Ericsson and a Renault rounds off the grid. Now it's almost time to lights out, so let's go down to the track.
Right, so here we are, last place on the grid for the Hungarian Grand Prix in P20. It's going to be a one-stop for us today, and it would have been the case really if we qualified normally anyway, but this time it's going to be a bit different to what we would have planned. We would have probably been on the soft tyres, but now we're going to start on the medium tyres, the hardest tyre available this weekend, and we're going to go as long as possible and then go onto the set of soft tyres to the end of the race, filling up on fuel as per usual, and really it's a case of, well, we've got nothing to lose and all to gain here on the start on the opening lap, so let's go to 5 red lights to the Hungarian Grand Prix. Round number 11 of Season 3 is underway, and it's a pretty poor start for us. Of course, on the medium tyres, a lack of grip and initial bite into the track surface. I can see a huge pocket of space on the right-hand side down the inside into Turn 1, so here we go for the lunge of dreams into P14, riding the curb a little bit. Esteban Ocon getting caught on a Sauber, I think that was, or a Toro Rosso car. It was definitely a car in blue, and we're up into P11 then, so that's been an absolute stonking start. My teammate is 2 places back behind us. He's really had a poor Turn 1, and a lot of people got caught up kind of tangling a lot amongst themselves into Turn 1. Is now Sebastian Vettel leading the way. Hamilton, Raikkonen go side by side. Yellow flags. Oh, the Mercedes is in the wall. It's Hamilton. He's crashed with Sergio Perez. Hamilton's out of this Grand Prix. I think he must have made some contact with Raikkonen, surely, as he was side by side into that corner. We've had an illegal overtake on Danica Fiat there, the Russian, so we have to give the place back. We do so, and then quite cheekily go back down the inside of him immediately there. So let him back past for literally a split second, and then get back past him. And so we're up into, I think that was P8, I think it was. So I lost count to how many positions we took, and meanwhile it's Sebastian Vettel leading the race from Valtteri Bottas to Kimi Raikkonen, with Felipe Massa then in P4, followed by I think the Red Bull racing car of Daniel Ricciardo, and then is Romain Grosjean a little bit off in the distance, and right behind him is us in P8 there. So a very odd top few cars there, with definitely Grosjean, Massa and myself gaining quite a bit of time there, although I believe Massa must have qualified in the top 10, but at least he's up into P4, usually not a place he's used to. As we can see now, Hamilton with a really poor start. As we look at the replay, this is, and it's all 3 of them, both Ferraris and his teammate. Look at that, Bottas is already going down the inside into Turn 1, and he's trying to get the lead of this race off Vettel. Vettel able to fend him off, so Vettel up into P1, Bottas P2, and Raikkonen still trying to get it around the outside of Hamilton. So that's a shocking start from the man on pole position there, and Kimi is still going to keep it in there. A little bit of contact made on the entry, but they go and keep it very, very close indeed to the blind corner there on the crest, and this is the point where we caught on live, and then this is what we didn't see. Little tap there, the subtlest of taps, and that allowed Hamilton to offset the car, upset the car, and he kind of just drifted into the path of Perez and looked like Max Verstappen, I think that was. So Verstappen getting very unlucky and hitting the side of Hamilton's car, as there you can see Verstappen's actually the car that actually made the impact to break off his rear front tyre, and I'm surprised Verstappen's not out of the race as well if he did enough damage to Hamilton's rear front tyre. But Sergio Perez also lost his front wing then, and I think maybe out of the race as well. But this is the start now from Hulkenberg. I mentioned in the commentary that Hulkenberg got a really poor getaway, and you can see there he's actually been tapped by a car behind him, and he's lost so much time there just kind of slowing down at the apex of Turn 1 right on the outside of the corner, and there's probably about 4 cars that were on his right hand side, so that's how he lost so much time to me and everyone else in front of him there. And you can just see from that replay on board with Nico how many cars there were going into Turn 1 that were slowing all of themselves down, and that's how we're able to go down the inside of so many cars there, and we're up into P14 by the time we got to the apex of Turn 1, and then there's the destruction that followed that crash from Hamilton on board from Hulkenberg. As we now move on to lap 5 now, we've got another car out of this Grand Prix. Now there's a virtual safety car that has been called out here. So at the rate we're going, looks like we may have quite a few DNFs on the race classification after this race. We've only got 18 runners now, and it's lap number 6, so we're in P7 now, so that will gain us 1 position there, as I think someone else ahead of us must have hit. We've got Daniel Kvyat behind us and Romain Grosjean ahead of us, and we are crucially the only medium tyre runner at the moment in the top flight here, in the top 10. Although I say top flight, you can see in the minimap, I'm pretty much by myself at the moment. A lot of cars ahead of me. Of course, we gained quite a bit into Turn 1, but also what that crash also entailed was these 3, the top 3, Vettel, Bottas and Raikkonen, to get away from everyone else, as we now go into the second sector, and Vettel's locked up. He's locked up. He's lost the lead of the Grand Prix, and yet again, for another time this season, we've seen Sebastian Vettel bottle it under pressure into as he's in P1, and he's double locked up. He's nearly lost the place to Raikkonen as well, but crucially, more crucially, is the fact that that Bottas is up into P1 because, of course, Bottas and Vettel were the ones fighting for the championship at the British Grand Prix. Obviously, Vettel had a DNF at the British Grand Prix and Bottas got P3, so that was 15 points that he crucially got ahead of him. But on the next lap, Vettel trying to make amends for his mistake. He's back down the inside of Valtteri Bottas, so the Ferrari's definitely flexing their muscles, and they may have not got pole position, but they've definitely got the race pace here today. So now Raikkonen is down the inside of Bottas, and he's got it, and in a flash of a second, they've made it a Ferrari 1-2 from what was a mistake from their race leader. So great stuff there for Ferrari, and then later in that race, they really start putting the hammer down as they get a huge gap to Bottas in literally, I think this is only 2 laps have gone by, and Raikkonen is looking very feisty indeed. He goes down the inside of his teammate Vettel, DRS open, obviously, straight line speed advantage. They go wheel to wheel. Vettel tries to fight back there, and you can see Bottas nowhere in sight there. So the two Ferraris definitely have the race pace today and are going to be the faster car throughout this Grand Prix as Kimi locks up a tad, but it manages to keep first place. But focusing back on Bottas, there is the gap to Bottas, and he's going backwards, and even so, you can see Massa and Ricciardo not too far behind. So I wonder if Bottas is having another issue just like he had at the British Grand Prix. Maybe this confirms to us indeed that at the British Grand Prix last episode number 50, Bottas, obviously he fell away. He was holding up that train of Perez, the two Ferrari cars at the time, and the Red Bull cars at the British Grand Prix. We didn't quite know what the issue was. Maybe this confirms to us it was an engine issue, because maybe he's carried that over to the Hungarian Grand Prix, as now you saw he locked up in the same place Vettel did, and is now holding up Felipe Massa, Daniel Ricciardo, and you can see Grosjean not too far off, and behind Grosjean is us, so we may catch up to him pretty damn soon as well as we move later into that lap. And Massa going down the inside on the right hand side, DRS open, but obviously the Mercedes definitely slow in a straight line as now Ricciardo closes up, not quite making a move into turn 1 although for him, but Massa is up the order, and Massa at the moment into a podium position, so he's doing very well indeed. And so as we keep focus on Valtteri Bottas, Ricciardo unable to make a move into turn 1, but now he will get it down the inside. Bit of a dive from the Australian, squeeze Bottas a little bit wide onto the right hand side of that corner, and he will get up the order. And now the Haas is going to be right up the gearbox of Bottas and may even make a move into the next crest. Yes, he will. The blind left-hander around the outside, Romain Grosjean, much like he did back in, I think it was 2013 or 2012. He made a few moves around the outside there, and actually got a legal overtake at the time, I think it was, in 2012, if I remember correctly, quite a few years ago now. 5 years indeed. God, the years have gone by since that season. But yeah, he put off Bottas a little bit there. You saw some contact was made, and so now we've got the Mercedes right in our sights. So I talked about bad luck for the top guys just earlier in the episode, and now the two Mercedes seemingly are imploding. We know Hamilton's already out of this race. Bottas definitely has some sort of major issue in the car, whether it be the gearbox, engine, whatever the case. He's going very slow. We tried to go there around the outside, so fair play at least. You know, he may be having issues, but he's still got a fast enough car to hold me up in the last sector here, and he's actually not doing me any favours. This is going to lose us at least a second or more, as we have to wait till we open DRS now. Rich mix, and we move up to the right hand side, down on the main straight. We finally get the overtake done, and now we're up the order, and we've got a lot of clean air now to try and close up to the guys ahead of us, which indeed includes Grosjean. And you would imagine, hopefully, that we can catch up to the Haas car at least. But we are on medium tyres, remember. They're all on super softs, and the medium tyres, it's not the best race tyre around Hungary, really. So we're just going to have to try and see what we can do. But it may be a bit of a lonely first stint for us as we move later into the race, across the final corner, across for another lap. And you can see another virtual safety car has been called out. So as we go down this straight, but as we look on the left-hand side of your screen, it's Vettel coming out of the pit lane just behind us. So the virtual safety car almost screwed us over, but we've just managed to nip ahead of Vettel. And so Vettel on a set of soft tyres, so that confirms to us he's going to be doing a two-stop this race. He's on a set of super softs at the start of the Grand Prix, then to softs, and then I imagine a second set of soft tyres for a second pit stop. And we're doing a one-stop, of course, going to a set of soft tyres at the end for one and only pit stop. So this could be a big chance for us to stay ahead of Vettel in this race, because effectively, if we can just hamper his race now, hold him up as much as we can before we make our pit stop, and of course we're both now making one stop apiece for the rest of the race now, we can do some work here and potentially, I don't know, fingers crossed, maybe just about beat Sebastian Vettel this afternoon. We'll have to see. Fingers crossed. Let's see how it works out as we move on to the end of lap 9. It's quite early days actually in this Grand Prix. There's been so much action so far. We're actually still only not even a third of the way gone in this Grand Prix. As we move on to lap 10, and now Vettel tries to make a move on the left hand side, and and we're going to have to try and defend, outbrake him into turn 1. We do so quite successfully, actually, and we go wide intentionally to squeeze him out there, and that's worked out a treat as he's kind of been put off a little bit as his front end of the car wiggled about a little bit, so maybe got some dirty air and was put off a little bit, as now eventually Raikkonen comes in, and he's on a set of super soft tires. Now, he went a lot longer than Vettel did, and as he comes down the pit lane, I think Raikkonen and Ferrari are going to try a bit of a split strategy this afternoon, as Raikkonen is going to pull into this pit box, and you're about to see he's going to strap on a set of white wall medium tyres. So Raikkonen going for a one-stop, one of those weird one-stops where he's going from a set of super softs to the medium tyre, whereas obviously we're trying the one-stop with soft and mediums, or mediums to soft rather, but just like the Austrian Grand Prix, if you remember, the two Ferrari cars pulled off a good one-stop there, and Raikkonen's doing the same thing, although Vettel is not. So interesting. Their championship leader, Sebastian Vettel, or their main leader in the championship, is the one that gets set with a bit more of an awkward two-stop strategy, and their guy who's in 4th place or even 5th place in the championship so far is on a bit more of a bolder one-stop. But now we move later into the race now. Vettel trying to make a move on the left-hand side, and indeed Felipe Massa to make it 3 wide momentarily. Massa trying to overtake Vettel. We've defended from both of them down the inside to keep P2 for now, and on the exit Massa and Vettel will go side by side. So Massa is coming in out of nowhere to surprisingly help us in this Grand Prix by attacking Vettel now on a set of super softs. Very aggressive strategy for the Brazilian. But as we cut onto the next shot, looks like Vettel's just about done enough to defend from Massa to keep 3rd place for now. So Massa P4, it's Ricciardo in P5, and then behind them is, I think, also my teammate in this train here. Yeah, my teammate Nico Hülkenberg is the car behind Daniel Ricciardo. So Nico not doing too badly as well. I believe Nico's also on a one-stop. He started on medium tyres as well, and may definitely be doing the same as me, going to a set of soft tyres in this race. You can see virtual safety car has been called out for another incident that we've not seen, but another incident nonetheless, and we've used that to our advantage. We're going to come in under the virtual safety car, because of course you can see on the right hand side all of those cars on that train going a little bit slower as they all have to adhere to that delta time. That's quite a big train though that I formed a little bit, so that's a little bit funny to kind of see. It was Vettel, Massa, Ricciardo, Nico Hülkenberg, my teammate, and then it was Romain Grosjean in the Haas as well to end out that train, and quite an odd train really that's formed there. Obviously a little bit jumbled up after that crash, and we don't even see the other Red Bull car of Max Verstappen or any of the Force Indias so far, which is kind of surprising really, because the Force Indias were looking so strong at the British Grand Prix. Anyway, we come out of the pit lane then in soft tyres, and later in that race Nico Hülkenberg comes in for a set of soft tyres, so confirmation there he is indeed trying the exact same one stop as I am. And as he comes out of the pit lane, if you look to the right hand side of your screen, you may just about see the Williams car, and there he is now as we cut onto focusing onto him, Felipe Massa through turn 1 behind Hülkenberg. So Hülkenberg has jumped up ahead of the Williams car and may just be in a net position that may find himself right behind Sebastian Vettel then. So that's very good to see as we come through the final corner then on lap 22 this is. So quite some later into the Grand Prix, up into P5, and then later in that race Sebastian Vettel eventually comes in for that second pit stop. So as he comes down the pit lane, the question is, where are we in all this? As he comes out of the pit lane now, where are we going to be on that right hand side? Ricciardo's also in. Here we come down the main straight, and Vettel may just have this into turn 1. He's on a set of super soft tyres, and he's just about got us, unfortunately for us, and he's up into P2. We're down to P3 effectively from earlier on that Grand Prix, and so that's massively frustrating. After doing so many laps of defending from Vettel, we're now behind him due to the pit stops and just the pace he had on the soft tyres he was on before that pit stop. We tried to close up as best we can later into that lap. That Sauber nearly held him up enough in sector 2, but just not quite enough. And you can see now as we go through the left and now the fast right, Vettel just steaming away from us in P2 to may try and chase his teammate Kimi Raikkonen. Meanwhile, back behind us, Nico Hülkenberg going through the final corner, and the Red Bull car comes into the pit lane, and so Nico Hülkenberg is up into P4. We are still in P3, so at the moment it may end up with a very comfortable still P3 to P4 for Renault. So even though I'm a little bit annoyed to not have P2 in my hands at the moment to be ahead of Sebastian Vettel, I can't be too annoyed, because let's be fair, the Renault team as a whole, we're still not used to being here. Let's be honest, we've only had 2 wins this season, and a couple of podiums, so we're not fully, used to being here in this position. And so for us to be in respective P3 and P4 position is absolutely fantastic. Hulkenberg only qualified in P11, I think it was. We're last place in this Grand Prix, remember? So to go from P20 to P3 and from P11 to P4 is absolutely fantastic. And actually, as we move on to lap 33, Nico is actually fancying himself to maybe try and overtake me. We have to go up into rich mix to try and defend from him on the main straight. He's got DRS, of course, and so that was definitely something I wasn't expecting in this Grand Prix, to be fighting and kind of scared almost of Hulkenberg, my teammate, coming up and stealing a podium position from me. As we move on to the last lap of the Grand Prix, so far so good. And as we go into Sector 2, yellow flag, so we've got another car. So much of a disaster for so many cars in this race. It's a Haas of, Magnussen, I think that is. Magnussen going slowly there, so many issues for so many different cars in this race at the Hungarian Grand Prix. But we come across the line for P3 this afternoon. Another podium there for our season, and Hulkenberg in P4 means a very, very strong team position finish. P3 and P4, awesome stuff there, especially for us from last place. But Kimi Raikkonen is the one that wins that race. It's a 1-2 for Scuderia Ferrari, so that'll be great for them because they were trailing Mercedes by quite a fair few points there. And of course for Vettel, after his DNF last race and Bottas's third place, that's great for Vettel to get second and for Bottas not to score any points, so that'll swing the momentum right back for Vettel in the championship fight. And you can see, due to Hamilton not scoring anything, obviously DNF this race, we move up to third place in the Drivers' World Championship. Only 8 points off Sebastian Vettel there in first. Bottas second place, 3 points off there. Raikkonen with that win, still in P5, but he's slowly closing that points gap in P5 to P4 of Hamilton. And obviously, if Hamilton keeps on having that bad luck now, it's going to basically balance out from the bad luck Raikkonen had earlier on this season. In the Constructors, all pretty much the same though, but you can see the points are closing to Ferrari, to Mercedes there. For third place, we're pretty much in no man's land by ourselves. We're too far ahead of Red Bull, but we're way too back from Ferrari to really have anything interesting going on in the Constructors this season. So fortunately, actually, kind of oddly and nicely to say, I'm maybe actually focusing more now. We focus so much on the Constructors table for Season 2 and the beginning of this season. I may be focusing now on the Drivers' Championship table because I'm kind of interested to see now what's going to actually happen here. We're only 8 points off the lead, and these guys, they just seem to be, I don't know if they kind of get in a huddle pre-race and all decide, right, who's having the short straw this afternoon, because all of them seem to be having a problem every other race. And so after that race now, finally, we can go ahead and repair the chassis weight reduction that failed on us at the British Grand Prix. You can see over 2,000 points there. So we repaired that, and then it was a case of, well, we started a fair few points now to play with after this race. So it was a case of debating in my head now, what do I want to go on? You can see we've got a major tyre upgrade, a major chassis reduction upgrade available, and we know how good the major upgrades now are. After that drag reduction upgrade, I can definitely say the major upgrades are the way to go. And so in line of that, I can kind of see the long-term game here for the rest of the season. We purchase an efficiency upgrade for the chassis side. That's going to reduce the points by a further 10% costing for us. It means we can't afford anything right now, but next episode, if we get enough points, the major upgrade is only going to cost 1,200 points. So that is going to be great for us for the rest of the season, because it may mean we can purchase both of these major upgrades by the end of the season. So that would be a huge aid to us to maybe try and mount a very surprising championship fight for the Drivers' World Championship. You never know. Let's remain positive. Let's remain positive. So guys, if you have enjoyed the episode, smash that like button, guys. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you don't, then do get subscribed for weekly Formula content. I've been aarava. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.